Well, g'day curd nerds. Today we're making butter. Specifically, herb and garlic butter. So as you can see, I've made a mountain of butter here. It's absolutely fantastic, tastes delightful. I've reused some old butter containers, so don't be surprised about that. But you know, we're into reuse here. I've used a little bit of it already, it's so good. This is herb and garlic butter, this one here. All these ones here are just normal butter, plain. I haven't done anything to them except added salt as necessary. And the ingredient I used for the herb and garlic butter was this Tuscan garlic salt by Way Hill Farm. It's a local Victorian company. It's also good to support Victorian companies. This is not a sponsored video by any means, but I just liked the product. Now, the ingredients, it's got garlic, which is about 50%, and it's granulated garlic, and it contains sea salt, oregano, rosemary, thyme, and sage. So good all-rounder, delicious flavour, made a fantastic herbed butter. I also used to make the butter cream by Inglenook Dairies, which is a local dairy producer here in Victoria. Fantastic cream. The percentage was about 50% fat, which is quite high, but really good quality cream, made a really good quality butter. Anyway, let me show you how I made butter.
So I've got that lovely Inglenook Dairy cream. It's quite thick, as you can see there. Pouring it into a bowl. Now, this was my first mistake. As if it wouldn't be a cheese video without making mistakes. I put too much cream into the bowl. Far too much. But that will become evident as soon as I start whisking with my little mix master. So mixing until it starts to go into thickened cream and starts to form in that there's enough air into the cream that it starts to expand, and it's expanding quite high to the top of the bowl so far. So it's started to go solid now, as cream does when you whip it. And a bit of an issue, so I needed to get a spatula out and put half of the cream into that jug that I had spare ready for the buttermilk. Anyway, so still whisking and trying not to get it everywhere. It was flicking everywhere. Now, I don't have a KitchenMaid or anything like that. This is all we have in our house, is a nice little hand mixer, and that's what I had to deal with. Takes me back to when I made the culture butter video. I think the glass jar with the little steel ball in it, whiskey thing, worked a lot better and was less messier than what this method is. However, if you've got something like a KitchenAid, then you'll have no problems. So you can see that the cream is starting to turn yellow, which is a good thing. And it gets firmer as you whisk it. Now I'm just using the spatula to put the cream, or nearly butter, down the sides. And as you can see there, it's going even more yellower. There we go. Now I had to get an apron on because it was getting quite messy. As you can see, it looks a little bit like scrambled eggs now, so that's perfect for what we're trying to achieve here. So I'm nearly finished whisking. Probably took a good 20 minutes, I would say, to get to this stage. So once it starts to break up individually, then it's good to go. So just a quick clean of the whiskers, and I'm forming it into a ball now. Now you can see that white substance coming out is indeed buttermilk. That's what it is. It's the leftover liquid, and the butter is actually the fat. So I'm just kneading it to get the buttermilk out of the butter. Now have clean hands, obviously, making sure that this is all done hygienically as possible. Now at this stage, I knew I had most of the buttermilk out, so I put cold tap water into the bowl and pressed pressed the butter to get as much of the buttermilk out as possible. So now we're going to add the salt, and this is the herb and garlic, or the Tuscan salt mix, or garlic mix. So garlic, it's got oregano, rosemary, thyme and sage, and big chunks of dried garlic, which is absolutely fantastic. So I used 2 teaspoons, I think, it's about 1 litre of cream, and mixing that through the butter as well as I could. Notice there's no more buttermilk coming out, so I've got the vast majority of that out. And anything that did come out because of the salt, I just poured out of the bowl. There we go. So form it into a shape once it's finished. Quick wash of the hands, pop it on a board, and there's my butter container that I had saved from butter we bought previously. And just push it into the container as best you can. Now it was a little bit high, so I got a knife and just trimmed that off. And you can see that the herbs are well distributed through the butter. Now I had a little bit extra, so I went and got a ramekin and popped that in there. So there we go, there's my beautiful butter. Absolutely delicious. I think I got the salt content just right, and you can see that the herbs are all the way through it. Just a slight coloration of the herbs there in the garlic and herb butter. And there's the lovely label that Kim made for me. Now on with the taste test. So how do you know if the butter's any good? Well, you got to try it. So I've got a crust of a end of a piece of bread and slathering the bread with the butter. And there we go, first bite. Absolutely delicious. Great butter. Anyway, back to Gav.
Now, as you can tell, making butter is not hard. This time around, instead of using a jar and a little mesh ball inside the jar and shook it like I did in the cultured butter video, I just used a little hand mixer and just kept whipping the cream until it turned slightly yellow, then gave it a little bit of a squeeze, as you saw, to see how much buttermilk came out. That was my indication that the butter was ready and ready to handle with my hands. Now, a lot of people say don't handle butter with your hands because it melts the butter. My hands were very cold. It was very cold inside, so there was no real issues. You know, I could have worn gloves as well, but I chose for the tactile feel to get the butter and make sure there was enough buttermilk out of the butter when I washed it. Anyway, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. I really appreciate your time watching these videos as always. So don't forget to check out our Patreon page or join via YouTube memberships. This keeps the show running. Well, thank you for watching, Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time.